is just always tight, no matter how much I stretch. My upper back is just like, it does not matter. I stretch all the time. Why isn't it staying? Does this sound like you? Is this something that you are constantly battling between all the stretching that you do and not understanding why there isn't a long-term carryover between all of the hard work that you've been putting in? Know that you are not alone, and this is also why I get on my soapbox about stop stretching. Kind of. Stop stretching in the way that you have been doing it and do this instead. So first of all, stretching in and of itself, yes, creates some change in the tissue, helps to open up some space where things feel tight. However, most people stop there because they haven't been given any information to know that there's a different method in order to maximize those stretch gains that you just created in that short-term moment, but how do you then hold on to them for the long-term gain? The brain needs active learning in order to understand the new range that you just created and how to now use that for long-term movement. If we're just doing a passive stretching session, the brain says, okay, cool, what do you want me to do with that new range now? It doesn't have a benchmark to know or practice to know what to do with that new range. It doesn't have experience in that new range as of late. It doesn't have strength within that new range because you just created it. And therefore, the brain thinks, you know what, that's a little scary. I'm not familiar with that area. We now have this increased range that I'm not really sure what to do with. And it starts to sound this alarm to the brain of, that could be dangerous. That's something that could create a vulnerability moment for me to possibly create injury in the system. And the brain's number one goal is to protect. So in that case of adding new range into the system, and without following it up with active strengthening to give the brain an active learning moment to know what to do with that new range now and how to use it long term, without those learning active pieces, the brain goes, I don't know what to do with this, but I do know that if I tighten things back down to where they were before, that's a place I'm familiar with. So let's go back to familiar, because familiar is safe. New and improved range without education to the brain on how to use it is scary. It doesn't like scary. That's a perceived threat to the system, and therefore it reverts back to familiar. Is this starting to make sense? So all those stretching sessions you're doing on the regular and not seeing those long-term gains are because the brain doesn't know what to do with that new information that you're giving it. So we need to pair stretching with the strengthening in order for the brain to download that new information and have it available for long-term movement and activities. That's how we create change in the system long-term, rather than just those pockets of momentary relief that come from stretching without that strengthening component right after. This is one of the biggest opportunities that you can provide to your system to improve those range of motion gains that you're creating with your stretching sessions and following them up with strengthening right after in order to teach your brain what to do with that new available space. Tightness in the system is a product of the brain wanting to create protection to that area. If an area is chronically tight for us, it often means a few things. One, that area is being overused and needs more strength for the capacity that we're asking it to do. And then another reason why our body will create tension and tightness in an area is to protect that area, because often we're using it too much beyond the capacity that it currently has available. The only way to improve that capacity and the only way to teach the brain to not feel threatened to need to go into protection mode is to create more strength in the system. Strength creates resiliency and teaches the brain how to move well more often. Stretching in and of itself is not going to get us there. And so when an area is tight long term, know that that is feedback from your brain telling you we need something here. And we need some stretching to create some space in that body. And then in order to hold on to that new space, we need to immediately follow it up with strength training. Strength work into that new range is where the body is going to create change long term and be able to hold on and download that new range into its available movement repertoire. That's how you're going to be able to maximize your strength gains through stretching as a supplement to then add more strength into more space of your muscle capacity. Improving the range of motion and opening the tension in an area of the body helps our whole system to move better. And creating more strength into that area creates more of an opportunity for the body to move in that new area more often and with improved efficiency. That creates a decrease in our risk for developing overuse injuries and also helps our body to have an increased resiliency for all the things that we're doing in our day-to-day life, in addition to our workouts. So in summary, stop just stretching and instead stretch immediately following it up with strength work so the brain can learn what to do with this new range that you just gave it and actively insert strength and resiliency into the system to hold on to that new range for longer. So I hope you guys found this helpful, and I hope this helps to create a different way for you to implement stretching into your routine for long-term gains and maximize the efficiency of your stretching sessions so that that time doesn't go to waste. Thanks so much for tuning in for this week's episode of what to do about stretching and how to improve your movement capacity for long-term gains. I look forward to seeing you next time. Take care, everybody.